And I'm also going to share my screen. All right, Mrs. Shepherd, can you see my screen?
Sure can. Looks great.
Perfect. Well, my, what a beautiful and sunny day it is across our county. I was out at beautiful Morro Bay High today with a group of teachers from Los Osos Middle School in Morro Bay High. It was just sunny and gorgeous, and then came back to the district office in SLO, and it is also sunny and gorgeous. This is going to be the first of 3 LCAP PAC, or Parent Advisory Committee meetings. We had selected to try and do it online on Zoom to allow people who are working or working from home the ability to come and join us and give their feedback. So we will track and get your feedback if you would like the next one to be on Zoom or in person. This is going to be our agenda today. Mrs. Maxwell is my assistant. She is on the Zoom, and can you please put in the chat the slide deck in case people wanted to, or click the agenda and stick the agenda in the chat for us, please. But essentially, we're going to start with welcome and introductions. Then we're going to have an official public comment period. Then we're going to discuss the LCAP committee's purpose. We're going to share some achievement data from last spring with you all, and we're going to overview the survey plan, and I will run through the LCAP presentation for this year. And then at the end of our time together, we hope that you'll be able to take the educational partner survey if you haven't done that already. For those of you who are staff members, there is a separate Youth Truth survey and then a separate LCAP survey that you will be doing with your principal. But for our educational partners that are strictly families, your Youth Truth and LCAP survey are combined this year. And if you were already at our DLAC meeting, you would have had an opportunity to do it. Or if it was sent out through your principal to do that Youth Truth survey, you may have already completed it. But if you haven't had an opportunity yet to give us your feedback, this would be the best place to do it. I do invite my team, Ms. Shepherd and others, if you see a question come in the chat, I can't be seeing the chat right now, so stop me and let me know. And the slideshow isn't, there it is. All right. So super welcome, everybody. Thank you for making it on this Zoom today. I'm hoping to roll through and make it kind of a quick 1 hour. But again, if I'm going too fast or a question comes up for you, please stop us. My name is Lisa Yamashita. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, Educational Services here at San Luis Coastal School District. I also have my 2 directors with me, and I will give them a second to introduce themselves. Mrs. Shepherd, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Stephanie Shepherd, and I'm the Director of Elementary Learning and Achievement. If you were on the Parent Advisory Committee last year, then you know me well. Good to see everyone.
And Mr. Neff.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dan Neff, Secondary Director, and I started in July, so you probably haven't seen me yet. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for being part of this process.
So Mr. Neff is replacing Leslie O'Connor, and he supports all of our middle schools and high schools. And they both are amazing supports to me in my work. So officially, we're required to have public comment as an element of our LCAP meetings. The Parent Advisory Committee welcomes comments on matters related only to the LCAP. The section of the agenda is for individuals or representatives of a group to address our committee on issues not listed necessarily on the agenda. Speakers who wish to discuss items on the agenda are requested to wait until that item comes up. Each public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, And you may not cede any of your remaining time to another one of the speakers. And we ask that only members listed on our public LCAP committee are sharing with us public comment today. Other public observers in the room need to remain respectful and do not interrupt the individual giving such public comment. So with that, I'd like to open the floor to anyone. I will stop sharing my screen so everyone can be seen. And let me change, oh, I need to change my view and I can't figure out how. Oh, well, are there anyone here today wishing to make public comment? You may unmute yourself and say your name. All right. I am going to close public comment as I see none at this time, but as I stated before, if anyone has public comment to add during the meeting, you are welcome to unmute yourself. I did want to stop 1 second. Mr. Buckman was on screen and then off screen. I wanted to celebrate and introduce. Here he comes. Would you care to introduce yourself, Mr. Buckman, to the group as a Board of Trustee?
Oh, I'm Mark Buckman and I'm on the Board of Trustees. Thanks, Lisa.
You're very welcome. I also want to celebrate.
I just thank everybody who's here. This is really, really important. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do want to celebrate. We have many staff members on this call as well. We have some students on this group. We have EL parents represented, hopefully some special education parents represented. And so I appreciate you all making time to be here today with your busy lives and many hats. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. All right. So what is the LCAP? The LCAP is a 3-year plan that describes the goals, actions, services, and expenditures that we use to support positive student outcomes. The LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan, provides an opportunity for an LEA, which is our local education agency, which just means our school district, to share our stories of how, what, and why programs and services are selected to meet our needs. And down here at the bottom, I'd like to draw your attention. These are the actual legal requirements and documents on the California Department of Education's website that defines what we are required to do in an LCAP. The Parent Advisory Committee, that's us, the LPAC PAC requirements, we're required to have one. Districts are required to consult with parents, students, teachers, principals, administrators, other personnel, and local bargaining units. Sometimes those are referred to as unions. We have 3 unions that work with our school district. SLCTA is our teachers union. SEIU has some other job classifications like nurses, bus drivers, I believe. And then also CSEA. April Stover, our president of CSEA, is here today representing our classified staff members. And the Parent Advisory Committee must be composed of a majority of parents and legal guardians of currently enrolled students. And we have to ensure that our committee includes parents of students who are low income or socioeconomically disadvantaged, sometimes we call them, English learners, foster youth, or parents of students with disabilities. Also, the purpose of our Parent Advisory Committee, it says school district and COEs, that stands for County Office of Education. So we're required to present the LCAP to you, our Parent Advisory Committee, as well as our English Learner Advisory Committee, which is our DLAC. They review the LCAP and then provide comments on the proposed LCAP. We aren't to that spot yet. That will be coming later on in the spring. And right now, the role is going to be for you, LCAP Parent Advisory Committee, to give us feedback and information even before we start drafting the new LCAP for next school year. In the springtime, the superintendent of the LEA, that's our school district, will respond in writing to any comments submitted by this parent advisory group and the English Learner Parent Advisory Group, or our DLAC. So I wanted to begin by looking at kind of how are our students doing on CASP. That is the California Assessment of Student Progress and something. I'm sorry, it's our state test that the kids take every spring. Our third graders through eighth graders have to take it in math, English language arts. Our third, fifth, and eighth graders also take it in science. And then our 11th graders at the high school level also take it English, math, and science. Before we get talking about that, I wanted to share with you who does make up our school district. What kinds of students do we have? So you can see here, we have 7,555 total students enrolled in our school district. This is as of last school year, the dashboard information. We had 35% of those students report being socioeconomically disadvantaged. That means either they're based on parent education or family income, how much money their family makes and how many kids they have in their family to support. That's how that's defined. It used to be called free and reduced lunch, meaning students were eligible for free lunch, but now all of our students get free lunch every day. We have about almost 10% of our students are English learners. That means they come to us and speak 2 or more languages. They are learning English in addition to other languages they already spoken in their home. We have about 15% of our students have an identified learning disability or some kind of disability that affects their learning, and they receive extra support through an IEP. This number has grown significantly in the past few years. It used to be like 8% a long time ago in 2008. It used to be about 10% pre-COVID, and now it's all the way up to 15%. And something else you may not know about our school district is we have almost 600 of our students that report being homeless, or they are in the foster youth system and they are being taken care of by people other than their biological family, and they're officially as foster youth. So we have a really great, powerful, but diverse group of students that we take care of and help here in San Luis Coastal. I also wanted to share with you, this is our race ethnicity breakdown of students in our school district. Our biggest group population of students are white at 56%, and our second largest group of students are Hispanic at around 30%. You'll see all these other racial categories are much lower. 2 or more races is the next most prevalent group of students in our school district. As you look at these graphs, I forgot to show you what they're trying to do is the blue is in our specific district, San Luis Coastal. The black line here is for the county of San Luis Obispo. And then the gray line is in California, approximately. So these are our actual standardized test scores results on CASP last school year. This is for all of our students. And when you look at this,
We've done
oh, it sounds like we need to mute someone, Miss Maxwell, if you can help with that. All of our students overall in English language arts, about 67% met or exceeded their grade level expectations, about 3,785 of our students. The test actually gets broken up into 4 different categories. This is the student doesn't know the standards very well. This is the student is learning the standards and is close. And then the blues are they met grade level standard or expectation. And this big chunk of blue is kids that are exceeding their grade level standards and they're ready to move on already to the next grade. And you can see over here in math, we have a little bit different outcomes, about 58% It is still much higher than the rest of the schools in our county, as well as around, we're doing much better than the state at whole, but we'll talk more about that later. So again, we have about 21% of our students at standards not met, 20.5% of our students standard nearly met. So these are the kiddos that we're talking about in the LCAP needing extra help at school. What I wanted to print for you here is to show you the specific subgroups in the LCAP. English learners is one of them, and you saw that that was about 9% of our students. Only 10% of them met or exceeded. With one viewpoint, you can look at this and be like, well, yeah, they're labeled English learners because they are learning English, and so they would not yet have met standard. But over time, an individual student who's an English learner should be growing in their English and then shift to proficient. This is the same thing about math. We have about 14% of our students meeting or exceeding. And again, you would think, well, they're learning English, but they probably already know math in their own language, and so they can still pass the math part. But what you may not know is how English word heavy the math tests actually are. They are not just sheets of math arithmetic. They are all word problems and multi-step at that. So it takes a significant amount of English to be able to excel on the math test. This is for only our students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and you'll see that overall we have much more blue. Oops, I went the wrong way. Let's see if I can go back. There we go. So for all students in English, 67% of them met. But if you look at just socioeconomically disadvantaged students, 53% of them met or exceeded. So there is about a 10% student gap. And similarly with math, I'm going to flip again. Overall math was 58% if you look at all of our kiddos, but if you pull out just the socioeconomically disadvantaged students, we're at about 43. So there is a gap there. And finally, our third group of foster homeless youth students, about 28% met in English language arts and 24% met in math. So that is a significant gap as well. And the last group we're required to address in our LCAP is the special education students. Remember, that's the group about 15% of our total student population. And they are passing, met or exceeded about 29% in language arts and almost exactly the same in math, which is very interesting. They're the same. I'm going to stop my share right there for a second. And that was a lot of data at you all. And check and see if there are any questions I can answer quickly. Okay, I'm going to keep rolling. So I told you earlier, a really important part of our LCAP process is our educational partner surveys. And there are 3 ways that we are collecting information on our LCAP. The families are taking the Youth Truth and the LCAP together, and Youth Truth LCAP Family Survey is closing on the 25th. So there's just a few days left. If you haven't made time to do it, I strongly encourage you to participate now. Our students are going to be engaging in the LCAP survey questions through a new tool called Parsec Real. And what's exciting for us about that is it's actually a little bit TikTok-y like, and that their survey feedback is not just typed in written feedback in words. They can take a video of themselves responding to the question, and they can also just make a video recording, an audio recording of the session. And so we're very excited and hope that that will increase participation by the students to be able to take a video of themselves. We will also soon be doing Parsec Reels out to you educational partner adults as well, but we're starting with the kids because we know that they're going to be most used to taking videos of themselves to respond and post content. And then finally, our staff and community that can't access the digital copies of the LCAP survey are going to be doing a Google form and using the traditional method as we have in the past to get their feedback. So this is a board presentation. I do apologize for those who have already heard it before. I'm going to run through it quickly because some of you have heard it multiple times now at the DLAC meeting and the board meeting and other various meetings. I've already told you we're required to have an LPAC Parent Advisory Council. These are some of the steps this school year we're going to be doing to implement next year's 25-26 LCAP. So we already did our board presentation. Today is our first LCAP advisory and survey outreach meeting. In February, we will be doing another board presentation that's called the LCAP Mid-Year Report, and we'll actually be reporting on the 24-25, this year's LCAP. How much money have we spent? What actions have we taken? And what data or metrics do we have that it's working? In March, we'll be doing a presentation about all of the feedback we received through those 3 survey avenues I shared with you earlier. And then in April, May, we'll be developing the goals, actions, and budget. And in May, we'll have our actual first reading. And then in June, we have the second reading where the school board is asked to approve the LCAP. As we work on this project, the things we keep in mind is, what does the law say we have to do? What does the research say we should be doing to help kids? What does our community want us to do? And that's where you all come into play. That's why you're here, to help inform us. What does our community want us to spend the dollars on? And what do we have the capacity to do? As Ryan Pinkerton, my counterpart in the business office, says, we can do anything, we just can't do everything all at once. And that is super true. And I already explained the 4 target groups of students that we are working to support through the LCAP. These are all of the different groups of people that I'm doing this presentation for and encouraging them to fill out a survey or connect with me privately to give us feedback. You guys are this green box right here today. To help you understand some general budget information, last school year, we spent about $137 million as a school district. We got $137 million in revenues. That's money coming to us mostly from property taxes. As you know, we're a basic aid school district. And we spent $144 million. And that means we had $7 million in deficit spending. We spent $7 million more than we had come in. That was okay because we were basically finishing up spending all of the ESSER COVID funds. So when COVID hit, the federal government gave us special one-time chunk of funds called ESSER dollars, and we have finished spending those now. The plan we're writing that I'm talking to you about today is for implementation in 25-26, and it's going to be about $6 million as it was last school year. And I want you also to understand that personnel expenses are about 86% of our total budget that we spend every year. So we can't, for example, just cut out stuff as we try and get our budget in line to align our revenues and expenditures. It usually involves changing people and roles and that kind of thing. But we are very confident and hope that we will not be doing any forced reductions necessarily in staff. So it's important to know also, I want you to be aware of our school board goals and priorities that they have set for the superintendent's office and the work that Stephanie and Dan do with our school principals. Again, let me share with you, I just pulled out little snippets of about a 20-page presentation. There's much more to it. It was on the June 13th board meeting if you'd like to read more about it. It's called the Board Study Workshop. But these are the main key points I want you to know. We're focusing on academic excellence and closing the achievement gap for all of our students. We're focusing on student wellness and inclusivity, supporting our wellness centers and our mental health programs. Our school board hears and sees that we need to continue to support staff and families in making a healthy community. We need to recruit and retain highly qualified, diverse personnel. It is hard work being an educator and fun work being an educator, but we need to make sure that everyone is getting their buckets replenished and feeling great about the work we do with kids. And number 4, finally, effective stewardship of resources and making sure we have the fiscal discipline and ensure that we resource the student programs first. So our LCAP for this year, because I'm trying to give you some ideas about what we currently have spent our $6 million on. And again, these are just select examples from a much longer list of things. If you want to look up the actual LCAP document for this school year, it's 75 pages long-ish. It is on our webpage. So if you go to our webpage, find it fast, put in LCAP, there's a whole page that's devoted to the LCAP and you can download the actual document. But our first goal is called rigorous, relevant, and engaging instruction and curriculum. And we know that what makes the biggest difference for students is their main classroom teachers delivering high quality, relevant, and engaging instruction. And so to help support them doing that, we pay teachers extra time to come in over the summer to do planning days. We also are sending principals and teacher leaders to some equity training work. We also know that traditionally students in those groups like English learners or foster homeless youth may be less likely to engage in technology fields, innovative type fields. And so we have I Innovate programming at the elementary school and now our middle school level to help kids see themselves as innovators and technologists. And finally, we support a rigorous and robust assessment system that provides teachers with specific information about gaps in student knowledge and holes so that we know how to intervene most effectively. Our second LCAP goal area is around multi-tiered academic supports. And so when we have students that have learning gaps in knowledge or are struggling and need something different, we call it an intervention. And so these are the ways that we are helping give specific small groups extra support and intervention. One of the huge investments you'll see listed at the very top here are our MTSS, formerly called MTSS teachers, and now they're called our Student Success Specialist teachers. They are out of the classroom teachers that are both providing support to traditional classroom teachers, but they're also running the pull-out intervention programs and also following up with individual student meetings and student data tracking as necessary. That's at our 9 of our 10 elementary schools. We also provide for our DLI elementary sites, they need Spanish intervention in addition to their English intervention opportunities. And so that's here. I just mentioned that our student success support teachers are helping our academic intervention teachers run those small group specific tiered interventions at the elementary level. And furthermore, our English learners also get pull-out and special English learner education by English learner specialists. And that is across our system, K-12. If you're a beginning English learner, a level 1 or a level 2 English learner, you get pulled out and extra supports with a specialized teacher in teaching English. Something new to San Luis Coastal, if we started, is a newcomer program. Newcomers, according to the state of California, is anyone who has been educated in the United States 12 months or less. They traditionally don't speak very clear English. And so when you come into, for example, 8th grade, and you don't speak very much English, and you may or may not have had much schooling up until this point in whatever your home country is, you don't traditionally do very well if you just get taught English in one class and then have to go off onto the next class and try and make it work. And so we're creating new specialized newcomer programs where those students get extra co-teaching support opportunities where the EL teacher works with the math teacher to teach a math class specific for newcomers. They do have opportunities to go out and interact with the population at large, like PE time or an elective time, so that they have opportunities to practice their English in authentic settings with peers. We are having our schools participate in a site equity challenge this year. So each of our secondary schools and Pacheco Elementary have crafted their own equity focus for the year, and we are supporting teachers and their principals in working on that. And another really important program to our district is our AVID programming. Again, that's middle school and high school. There is a teacher that has students in their class who have applied to be in their class, but their families haven't previously attended college. And so it's a program to help students learn how to be good students and navigate the college going experience. Also, we have listed, excuse me, we have listed over to the right. These are the metrics we are going to use to measure if these activities we're doing is making the positive difference we expect it to on the right. And finally, our last focus area is our intentional culture of care. Some places call this social emotional learning or mental health wellness. And in this area, one of our main investments has been through the elementary counselors. So each of our elementary schools has a credentialed counselor on site every day to help the students be successful. They can teach lessons to whole classes. They can run small group lessons like problem solving sessions. They can also do individual regular counseling, attend regular meetings with families of students that are struggling and need extra support, and kind of be a wayfinder of community programming. In addition to that, we also have added 2 secondary counselors that are bilingual to our schools so that families who speak Spanish can have access to a counselor that also speaks Spanish. And at our high schools, we have added 2 wellness center counselors. So those are MFT qualities, marriage family therapists who also have counseling credentials, are working in our wellness center to provide whatever social, emotional, behavioral support students may need during the day. We support our elementary athletics for achievement in collaboration with our foundation. That is our 5th and 6th graders playing after school sports and having after school sport tournaments. We also have engaged with Mr. Michael Boyer to be our parent outreach and have a parent equity task force. So he is working with our secondary schools to pull together a panel of 10 families that may not have a voice right now in our school communities, and collecting from them information about challenges they face, how schools could meet their needs better. And then he's going to be making a presentation to the board in the middle of the school year and at the end of the school year, in addition to working with principals to help share the feedback and break down any barriers that may exist. And finally, lots of parent education opportunities. We hear loud and clear, and we said it was one of the main focuses of the board that we provide parents and families support in be their part and come alongside them and be their partner in helping their children achieve. I did want to let you all know that in addition to the LCAP and our $6 million of our general budget, we also get money from the federal government that are called categorical programs or title programs. You might have heard of Title I, which is based on the number of free and reduced or socioeconomically disadvantaged students. And so we have to submit a report that explains how our Title I funding programs are in alignment with the programs that we are doing with our LCAP funds. And so that's what this is. There's a link at the bottom. Again, it's like a 35-page paper. Thank you to Dan and Stephanie for their hard work on that. But essentially, it's just saying that this is what we said in our LCAP we were going to be doing to support these groups of students. And this is how our federal funds are also being spent to support the same group of students. So, I am done sharing that data dive. My goodness, I couldn't see faces either. So what questions does anyone have at this point? You can raise a hand or unmute yourself. No, nothing.
And
Bueller?
none in the chat.
None in the chat. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to mute myself. Now I'm unmuted. Okay. Then I will put back up the last slide, which is our next meeting, Thursday, the 23rd. We are going to plan to do the Zoom unless I hear otherwise through
Oh,
email.
Lisa, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I see a hand.
Oh, good. Okay, we'll come back to it. Hang on one second, Mrs. Quinn. Our next meeting will be Thursday, the 23rd. And again, what we hope to do at that meeting is by then we will have completed the family survey, the staff survey, and the student survey. And we should definitely already have some themes in place because the Parsec Reel automatically has AI enhanced theme recognition. So we'll be able to share that out. And we will put into probably a AI LLM responses to see what trends we get out of our other surveys. And so we'll bring to you a list of themes next meeting from our surveys and how many people gave us their feedback, and then we'll work together as a team to start making action steps. Okay, so let's see. What was the question?
Sí, buenas tardes. Bueno, me gustaría comprender más sobre cuál es el trabajo o la función de las reuniones que se hacen del concilio en las escuelas.
And Maria Torres will do English for us so I can fully understand. I'm sorry, Maria Quinn, of course, as you know, but others may not know. I'm not quite proficient enough in Spanish. Okay. I would like to understand the work of the council at each site. Let me ask a clarifying question. Do you mean the school site council or do you mean the English Learner Advisory Council? Oh, school site council. Okay, I am going to hand this one off. Mr. Neff just did a significant school site council presentation for our principals, and I'm going to let him step in and talk more. And if you can, Mr. Neff, you're welcome to pull up that. Why don't you just pull up that document, Cliff's Notes, if you want.
Thanks, Missy Mashdal. I don't know how good I am at multitasking, searching in my drive and talking at the same time. So maybe I'll pause for a moment and see if I can find that document. If not, I can just speak to it. Let's see.
Mr. Neff, I've got it and I will share it with you, so it should pop up in your email.
Actually, let's see. I think I found it. I'm just looking right now. Yeah. Lisa, you're talking about that like the handbook, correct? Is that what you're thinking of? Okay, let me share my screen here.
You should be able to share. I just gave you sharing permissions.
Thank you. So let's see, that sort of changed my view. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes, we can
All
see
right.
it.
It's at the top now, correct?
Yep, it's at the top. It's perfect. Why don't you share that?
All right, so I'll kind of give a pretty brief overview, but school site council serves as basically a mechanism of input for educational partners at the school. So most of it is around helping the principal in crafting their single plan for student achievement, which is basically, we call it SIPSA for short. But basically it's the plan that the school has each year around how are they, what's the data? It's like a school's LCAP, kind of like what Ms. Yamashita just presented. That's sort of like a mini version at a school. So how other students are doing, what are their goals, and then what monies or budgets are they going to spend to support actions that will increase achievement related to those goals. And so you'll see school goals in there. You'll see what budgeted monies are allocated to particular actions to support increase in student achievement in those areas. The goal areas of the SIPSA are aligned or the same as the goal areas of the LCAP. And so that school site council will have, principal at the secondary level. Actually, high school will have students on it. We'll have teachers, may have a classified person, then we'll have parents on it. And then the idea is that group is working with the principal to inform, most of the work is around the SIPSA. Most of the meetings, there's typically 5 meetings during the year. But they also may look at parent involvement policy, if there's any, at the secondary level, high school, there may be college information nights. At the elementary level, sometimes there's math nights or reading nights or literacy nights. But it's a way for kind of all the educational partners at a school to help the principal form that plan and make sure everybody's informed on what's going on. Kind of more now looking at the document, there are guidelines around the composition. As I mentioned, there's a principal, there's teachers at the middle school. There may be students, typically not at the high school. There are students on it, as well as then parents. School site council meetings follow the same sort of Green Act and meeting requirements. You have agenda posted ahead of time. You have to cover what's on the agenda. Public can attend, but only school site council members vote. Those members that are on school site council are nominated and voted for by their peers as a part of the process of who gets on school site council each year. Scrolling through, so it talks about there the purpose is to really help with single plan for student achievement. They review and approve the site safety plan, something a school does every year. Prior to going to the board, they can look at a parent involvement policy. They can provide input that then comes back to the district. So a lot of times parents serving on the school site council may be part of the LCAP group, this group today, as part of something they can do, as it says there, is advising the LCAP. And then they will review if it's a Title I school, parent school, or school parent compact. Those are really sort of, it's a multi-page document, but those are the main things.
I think that pretty much covers it. Maria Quinn, did you feel like you got your question answered?
Sí, muchísimas gracias. Creo que me ha quedado un poco más entendible. Me gustaría preguntar, esta información, ¿yo puedo verla en español?
Is that information he shared in Spanish? Was that your
Yes,
question?
yes.
Yeah. Because this document was developed for our administrators as a teaching document, it is not in Spanish, but I'm sure Mr. Neff, we can turn it into put it out in Parent Square, and Parent Square automatically translates to many languages, whatever languages families are receiving it in. So yes, Mr. Neff and I can cut and paste that into principal newsletters so everyone knows what the site council is for. Great suggestion.
Sí, muchas gracias.
All right, Mr. Neff, if you could stop sharing your screen so we can see everybody off. Thank you everyone for your time today. If a question comes to you later, by all means, reach out to myself, Mrs. Shepherd, or Mr. Neff at any time. We are here to help support you and get your questions answered. Again, if you haven't taken the LCAP survey yet, please go to our webpage. It pops up first thing and you can click that link and take the LCAP and Youth Truth together. I appreciate you. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Bye.